This morning, we got a huge info dump on Horizon Forbidden West. It feels like Guerrilla did a mini press tour after the gameplay reveal last week, and yeah, it covers a ton of huge topics like the new climbing system, how big we should expect this map to be and how many biomes there are, and also some details on the skill tree and melee combat. Before we jump in, I plan to cover more Horizon Forbidden West as it's just one of the biggest new open world games I'm most looking forward to. So make sure you're subscribed to the channel so you don't miss a single thing. Let's start off with this Game Informer interview. Now, I've linked everything in the description below if you guys want to check things out for yourself, but this is about a 20-minute video that goes over most of what we're going to talk about today. First is traversal equipment. Both the game director and the narrative director were asked if there's more than just the grappling hook or the glider, the oxygen mask that we saw in the reveal gameplay. And we learned that yes, there's also more, but more importantly, there's a free climbing system. You can climb anywhere in this game, on rocks, mountains, and cliffs. This is in contrast to Zero Dawn, where it was kind of like Ghost of Tsushima. You couldn't climb just anything. There are certain places you could climb. Now you'll be able to descend and ascend anywhere, and you'll be able to use the pullcaster, which is the term for the grappling hook that'll allow you to descend or ascend quicker. Aloy can also high vault and reach ledges that you couldn't really reach before. It looked like you could, but then you found out, oh no, Aloy can't reach that. It's good to hear that Guerrilla invested more in, just mobility in this game because it's super important to have that freedom in an open world game. Next, they were asked about the technology in the game, especially the differences between PS5 and PS4. So we learned that there's a lot of development and testing that's been done on the PS4. So it should be solid there compared to a lot of ports that we're used to. They incorporated a special lighting system on Aloy to make sure that she looked good in cutscenes. And then on the PS5 side of things, that game will obviously have more detail, but they went into specifics on a special rendering system for underwater exploration and a wave technique. Those waves that we saw in the gameplay reveal, those are going to look really special on PS5, and of course the lighting has more definition. In terms of the more gimmicky stuff, the DualSense controller will be used obviously for weapons. The haptic feedbacks and adaptive triggers will be felt when you're pulling back your bow. And then they also mentioned the 3D audio with that special PlayStation 5 headset. And speaking for myself, I call it a gimmick, but I love it. I love my DualSense controller, so I'm excited to feel what that, is like. On to what are called Valor Surges. If you remember that really cool, almost like a fighting game finisher move, like a Mortal Kombat fatality we saw in the gameplay trailer, that's called a Valor Surge. And we learned we're going to get these through the skill tree, which has been completely redesigned, overhauled, and repopulated with new skills. So it's really going to look entirely different if you compare it to the one in Zero Dawn. It's designed to support many different playstyles, and each of those playstyles has certain Valor Surges that you can unlock and use. The player will be able to choose which Valor Surge move you want to have active at any moment in time, so you can switch between them. And we actually learned that the bars in the bottom right corner of the gameplay trailer represent how that's going to work. There's that purple bar, I believe, in the bottom right. That has to be full in order to pull off a Valor Surge. In order to build that meter, you have to play what Guerrilla calls tactically. So you're rewarded by doing things like getting headshots on humans, removing components from machines, doing stuff that they consider tactical will build that meter so you can pull off this insane move. And the one we saw in the gameplay is called a 360-degree blast. At least that's what it was referred to. And yeah, it knocks back enemies. It's going to be really, really useful. Like we mentioned before, the skill tree is overhauled, but in terms of different play styles, Guerrilla isn't sharing exactly how those work and what those will be. But yeah, they spent a lot of time in this interview saying there's tons of new options. It's completely different from the previous game, but they will show more of it later. We learned that the melee combat system has been expanded. As you guys know, in the first game, you can pretty much spam the melee button and do a few moves. There wasn't a ton of depth there. Now we have different combos, which are again acquired through this new skill tree. Each combo moveset has its own purpose, so you might use one to strip your enemy of armor more quickly. Another one might be purely damage focused. But these will have multiple hits, and for example, there's one that has the last hit doing bonus damage if you manage to nail it. We also heard of a specific melee combo called the Resonator Blast, and I think we see this in the gameplay. It's where you build a charge on the spear and then it glows once it's fully charged, and then you can place an energy sort of circle on your target and then hit them with a bow, and that'll cause, obviously, massive damage. This is useful for taking down bigger enemies. In general, they told us that, yeah, there's more growth in the melee combat system since it's through the skill tree. You don't just learn moves and then that's it. There was an entire section of this interview focused only on story details. There's no big spoilers here, but we learned that 6 months have passed since the ending of Zero Dawn, and the entire time Aloy has been on one mission to figure out, what is going on with this red blight. She knows that it signals the degradation of the biosphere, so that is the big driving point, and it takes her into the Forbidden West. As we know from Zero Dawn, this is an area that's mentioned only, a few times. It's very mysterious. So we're going to go there, discover new tribes, new enemies, and new machines. But also we'll be reunited with old friends like Erend, who we saw in the gameplay reveal, but he's not the only one. There will be more. Of course, it's a sequel, so we're going to meet some brand new companions that the narrative director believes players will enjoy. And I really like this point. He said that they wanted to increase the time you spend with these companion characters, give them more face time so you're able to grow an emotional attachment to these characters, both in the open world, but also on missions. I think this is great because a lot of the times it feels like in these open world games, you just go to these characters and they feel more like quest givers rather than actual people that exist in a world. So it'll be fun to interact more with them. In terms of the map and how big this game will be, it was asked if we're going to stay in San Francisco only, and we were assured no, we're going to go to many locations similar to Zero Dawn. Obviously, they're going to focus on iconic American landmarks like the Golden Gate Bridge, just like the original game did. But what we've been shown only scratches the surface of what we're going to see. There's going to be many more locations with lots of different terrain and biome types. I think it's easy to forget the early trailer we saw last year on Horizon Forbidden West, where they showed a lot of different looking areas. But yeah, the one in the recent gameplay reveal of San Francisco with the beaches and the water, that's only one of the biomes we'll get to explore, and there will be a frozen area like the Frozen Wilds DLC we saw for Zero Dawn. Back to the gameplay, there's going to be a workbench system in this game, which is a new addition for the series. It's only usable though in settlements, so Aloy will have to go to a physical location to upgrade her weapons and outfits. But essentially, it's like we're used to with most open world games. You go out into the world, you find these resources from animals, plants, and machines, bring them back to the workbench. You'll be able to upgrade your weapons and your outfits, and you can upgrade them multiple times. That obviously will enhance stats like damage. But upgrading your stuff will also unlock specific skills that are tied to your weapons and your outfits, things that will enhance your damage and offer unique weapon types. So this sounds like a slightly different spin on a system that we're used to, but this one is more elaborate than the simple, drop in, drop out mod slots from Zero Dawn. And then the last bit of news from that Game Informer interview, we learned more about the release date. Development is on track for Guerrilla, but of course there's uncertainty with the pandemic going on. They've been making this game for a big portion during this global event, so they're constantly rechecking their schedule. They don't want to announce a release date until they're completely confident in, this will come out now. And in a post-Cyberpunk 2077 world, that makes perfect sense. We got a few more details from an IGN article that I've linked once again in the description below. First off, they focused on the world, and we know that Forbidden West is going to be a little bit bigger than Zero Dawn, but Guerrilla aimed to deepen the world and the experience rather than just making a bigger map, which is great from me. Like, I don't need this game to be much bigger than Zero Dawn. It's a big game. So they did things like increase the density. They added more content in each zone. They added what they're calling micro stories to deepen that experience. But the emphasis was really on exploration of an open world through the machines that you come across, the humans that you'll fight in the tribes, and sort of unlocking the mystery of the story. But they also focused on underwater exploration and mentioned that this has more depth than it seems from the trailers and the gameplay that we've seen so far. There's surprising, interesting stuff to do down there and things that actually relate to the story. It's not just fluff. Guerrilla also spent time making the human combat better. If you remember, Zero Dawn's human combat kind of felt dull compared to the machines, you know? It was a little more basic and not nearly as engaging. They decided to apply the same ideas they use for machine combat onto humans. So, like we saw in the gameplay trailer, you'll see different armor parts on these human enemies as you knock them off and expose their weaknesses. But they also made humans more aggressive, so they can do things like we saw, pick up Aloy and throw her. One final detail from YouTuber Julien Chiez, who you might actually recognize. He's been a resource for Assassin's Creed news. This game will have a 60 FPS performance mode. And for me, this is huge because Zero Dawn is one of the notable exclusive games for Sony that hasn't gotten a big upgrade on PS5. It's crazy because I've been enjoying all of these PS4 games that have been enhanced, like God of War, Ghost of Tsushima, and The Last of Us Part 2. They all run in very silky smooth 60 FPS, but Horizon is not on this list. So it's good to know that yes, this game will be as smooth as the other exclusives on PlayStation. That was a lot of information in a short amount of time, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video and learned something new. Once again, keep an eye on this channel. More info is going to be coming out for Horizon Forbidden West in the months leading up to launch, whether that's later this year or early next. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, please let me know by hitting that like button. And if you're new around here, make sure you're subscribed to the channel and also click the bell to receive live notifications so you don't miss my next one. You can also follow me on social media. I'm jayveeonYT on Twitter and jayvee.yt on Instagram for updates on all of my content. If you want to chat more about Horizon or really any other game, join our community Discord server over at discord.gg/jayveeonYT. Links for everything I've talked about are in the description below. Big thanks to my YouTube members, Ultra fans Bill and Cam, Super fans Tipsy Sergey, Tarl K, and William, fans Matthew Spyro, JVO, Level 42, Blood Sky, Kamal, and Andy, and supporters Nos, Sung, Adam, Mr. Hollow, Quickness, Firkin, Jay, Sam, Abhishek, Ferris, Report, Gabrielle, Abraham, Reaperman, John, and Teo for supporting the channel. If you want to support me further, click the join button below this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you next time.